Georgia. The Curse of Lake Lanier. Mark had heard the stories about Lake Lanier his entire life. Growing up in Forsyth County, the name was never spoken without a shadow clinging to it. Neighbors warned kids not to swim too far out, not to fish too close to the old coves, not to linger when the surface went glassy and still. Families spoke of drownings, the way other towns spoke of car wrecks. Too many, too sudden, too strange. If you asked, someone always knew someone who had been pulled down without a reason, someone who'd gone out on a boat and never come back. People would lower their voices when they told those stories, because everyone knew what the lake was built on. Oscarville, a community erased by mobs, burned down in fire and hatred, then swallowed underwater by the government decades later. There were still families in the county who wouldn't drive past the shoreline. They said the dead had never forgiven what was done. Mark had dismissed it as folklore when he was younger, but as he got older, he noticed how the warnings never stopped, how every year the body count kept climbing. And yet, the lake remained, sprawling and glittering, with developers and tourists pouring in like moths to a flame. Mark never thought he'd be the type to set foot on those waters after dark, but money had a way of bending his beliefs. The factory job he'd worked for 5 years had cut his hours back, and bills piled up fast. Rent, his truck payment, his mother's medical prescriptions. It was too much. So when a wealthy investor from Atlanta reached out with a job, he didn't hesitate, even when the details felt wrong. $5,000 for 2 nights of sonar surveys at specific coordinates. That was the pitch. No diving, no physical risk, just simple scans of the lake bed. The investor's assistant emailed him the coordinates and insisted on discretion. Mark figured it was some rich man's vanity project. Developers always sniffed around the lake, talking about marinas or resorts. He didn't ask questions. He just said yes. The afternoon he went out, the air felt thick, heavy with summer heat that stuck to the skin like glue. The sun dipped low, turning the lake into a sheet of bronze. He rented a skiff, loaded the sonar rig, and pushed off. The engine's sputter was the only sound as he drifted toward the coordinates. The farther he went, the quieter it grew. No frogs, no insects, no birds. Even the slap of waves against the hull seemed to fade until he felt like he was floating in some enormous vacuum. The lake spread in all directions, black and flat, more like an ocean than a reservoir. He felt exposed, a lone speck in something endless. When he reached the marked spot, he cut the engine and lowered the sonar scanner. At first, the screen filled with familiar images, uneven terrain, collapsed walls, faint outlines of what might have been houses before the water claimed them. Then the shapes sharpened. Stairs that led nowhere. Half-buried tombstones. The skeletal remains of a town erased and drowned. Then came the figures. At first, Mark thought it was an error noise in the data, interference. But the forms were too distinct. Dozens of upright shapes, taller than debris, sharper than natural rock. They stood aligned like an audience, facing upward, frozen in the lake bed. Mark leaned closer, fiddling with the settings. Each pass confirmed it. He zoomed, shifted angles, recalibrated. No matter what he did, the figures were there. The water rippled beside the skiff. He told himself it was wind, but the air was still. He bent over the side, peering into the dark, when something shot up and grabbed his wrist. A hand, cold, slick, fingers like iron. He screamed, jerking back so hard the skiff rocked violently, nearly tossing him overboard. His flashlight beam cut across the water, but nothing broke the surface. No swimmer, no branch, just widening ripples that faded too fast. His heart thundered. He checked the monitor again. The figures had moved, closer. Sweat stung his eyes. His rational mind shouted glitch, malfunction, anything to keep from believing what he saw. He twisted the ignition, but the engine coughed, sputtered, and died. The boat drifted as if pushed by something unseen. He snatched the floodlight and aimed it over the side. For a second, the beam pierced the water and revealed them. Faces. Dozens of pale faces just below the surface. Hollow eyes staring upward. Hair drifting like kelp in unseen currents. Their mouths hung open as if calling out. Watching. Waiting. Then they vanished. Mark's hand shook as he grabbed the radio. Mayday! Mayday! This is Survey Vessel 1 requesting immediate evac. I'm on Lake Lanier. Coordinates. Static hissed. Then a voice bled through, distorted, low. You see us now. The skiff lurched violently, nearly capsizing. The engine sparked and erupted in flame. Mark dove into the water without thinking. The cold was merciless. It clamped his chest, stole his breath. Something coiled around his ankle and yanked. He thrashed upward, broke the surface, gasped air, then was dragged under again. In that crushing dark, lips brushed his ear. "You came looking for bones. You'll join them." Blackness swallowed him. When he came to, dawn painted the horizon pink and gold. He lay on the rocky shore beside his truck, drenched, lungs raw with pain. The boat was gone. The gear was gone. Only his waterproof sonar tablet remained, screen still glowing. The scan showed the same foundations as before, but the figures had vanished. Then, one by one, they returned, more than before, and one of them looked exactly like him. In the days that followed, Mark changed. He didn't notice it all at once. It began with shadows in the corners of his vision, whispers in the hiss of faucets, ripples shivering across the linoleum when no water spilled. His skin felt clammy, cold no matter how many blankets he wrapped himself in. His eyes darkened. His nights grew restless. He dreamed of mud pressing against his mouth, of water filling his lungs. Neighbors noticed him pacing the yard at odd hours, staring toward the lake, though it was miles away. Coworkers said he looked pale, sickly, as if something had hollowed him out. One night, he woke gagging, his sheets damp with brackish mud. Another time, he opened his closet and water poured out, pooling at his feet, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. He stopped answering his phone, stopped eating. The final night, witnesses said they saw him drive to the lake. He parked by the shore, left his headlights burning, and walked straight into the water without hesitation. He didn't flinch as it swallowed him, didn't struggle, just kept walking until the black water took him whole. Divers searched for days. They found no body, no clothes, nothing, only his sonar tablet, propped on the shore. The screen still glowed. Figures shifted across it, moving, multiplying. Each scan added new shapes. Each new shape bore a name. The last one bore his. Some say Lake Lanier was cursed from the beginning, its waters restless over stolen graves and drowned injustice. Others say it is hungry, feeding on fear, dragging the living to join the dead. Locals whisper that on still nights, if you stare long enough into the glassy black, you'll see faces staring back, smiling, waiting, pulling. Like and subscribe.